Rain fell softly over the Blackthorn rogue camp, turning the dirt paths into thin rivers of mud. Elena Voss sat near a small fire, wrapping a bandage around an old man's wounded arm. She did not complain about the weather or the cold that crept into her bones. She had learned, over 3 long years, that complaining changed nothing. Survival was the only thing that mattered here. Elena had once belonged to a proud pack, the kind of pack that sang songs about strength and loyalty. But 3 years ago, her own father, the alpha of that pack, had stood before the entire community and called her weak. He said her wolf had rejected her, that she was hollow inside, a shame to the bloodline. No one questioned him, no one dared. She was marked as an omega with no wolf spirit, and she was cast out into the forest with nothing but the clothes on her back. She still remembered the walk out of the pack gates, her childhood friends looking away, unwilling to meet her eyes. She remembered the cold silence of the forest that first night, how she had curled beneath a fallen tree and waited for wolves or worse to find her. No one came. Instead, morning arrived, and with it, a strange kind of resolve. If the world would not protect her, she would learn to protect herself. What no one knew, not even Elena herself in the beginning, was that her wolf had not rejected her. It was sleeping, sealed away by an old and rare curse, tied to her mother's hidden bloodline. Elena's mother had been a descendant of the first lunar seers, wolves who could sense danger before it arrived, and read the threads of fate hidden in moonlight. That bloodline was supposed to be extinct. Someone had worked very hard to make sure the world believed that. In the rogue camp, Elena became known simply as the healer. She mixed herbs, stitched wounds, and sat with the dying so they would not be alone. She never told anyone about her past. Rogues did not ask too many questions, and Elena preferred it that way. She had built a small, quiet life out of the ashes of her old one, and she told herself it was enough. Over time, the other rogues began to trust her, and a few even began to care for her the way family should. An older woman named Mira taught her how to forage safely in unfamiliar territory. A young boy named Tobias followed her everywhere, calling her his sister even though they shared no blood. Elena let herself love them quietly, carefully, the way someone loves things they fear losing. She never allowed herself to hope for more than this small, fragile peace. One evening, the peace of the camp shattered. A convoy of warriors marched through the gates, torches lighting their path, mud splattering their boots. At the front of them walked a man the rogues recognized instantly. Whispers spread through the camp like wildfire. Alpha King Damien Ashgrave, the most powerful alpha in the Northern Territories, ruler of the Ashgrave pack, known for his sharp mind and his stern, unshakable authority. He had not come for peace talks. He had come hunting a traitor, someone within the rogue camp who had been secretly feeding pack secrets to enemy territories, weakening pack defenses, and endangering innocent lives. Damien's eyes moved coldly across the gathered rogues as his warriors searched tents and questioned frightened camp members. Elena kept her head down, as she always did around powerful men. She had learned that alphas rarely looked kindly on omegas like her, but fate, it seemed, had other plans. As Damien passed the fire pit where Elena knelt, treating a child's fever, their eyes met. The world seemed to stop. A jolt of recognition tore through Damien's chest, so powerful it nearly knocked the breath from his lungs. His wolf, usually calm and controlled, suddenly roared to life inside him, howling one single word over and over. Mate, mate, mate. Elena felt it too, a warmth spreading through her chest, a pull so strong it frightened her more than any enemy ever could. She had heard stories of the mate bond, how it connected two souls instantly and completely. She had always believed such a bond was not meant for someone like her, someone already rejected once by her own family. Panic rose inside her. If this powerful Alpha King recognized her as his mate, surely he would take one look at her past, her exile, her supposed weakness, and reject her just as her father had. She could not bear to feel that pain twice. Before Damien could take a single step toward her, Elena rose to her feet, gathered the frightened child in her arms, and disappeared into the maze of tents. Damien stood frozen for only a moment, before his instincts took over. He ordered his warriors to continue searching for the traitor, while he went after the woman who had just become the most important person in his world. He moved through the camp with quiet urgency, following the pull of the bond like a compass needle pointing north. He found her in a small healer's tent at the edge of the camp, her hands trembling as she organized bottles of medicine that did not need organizing. She was buying herself time, trying to calm a heart that refused to slow down. "You felt it too," Damien said quietly from the tent's entrance. It was not a question. Elena did not turn around. "Please leave, Alpha. I am no one important. You must be mistaken." "I am never mistaken about my own mate bond," Damien replied, stepping inside. His voice was firm, but not unkind. "Look at me." Slowly, reluctantly, Elena turned. Her eyes were bright with unshed tears, her jaw tight with the effort of holding herself together. "If you know what is good for you, you will walk away right now. I have nothing to offer a king. No pack, no title, no strong wolf. My own father called me broken and threw me out 3 years ago. Do not waste your bond on someone like me." Damien's expression darkened, not with disgust, but with anger on her behalf. "Your father called you broken?" Elena wrapped her arms around herself, the old wound reopening as she spoke. "He said my wolf rejected me, that I was hollow, an omega with no spirit worth claiming. The whole pack watched him say it. No one defended me." Damien studied her carefully, his sharp mind already working through the pieces of what she had just told him. He had spent years studying old pack histories, including forbidden texts about ancient bloodlines his own grandmother used to whisper about in his childhood. As Elena spoke, the collar of her worn tunic shifted slightly, revealing a faint, silvery marking just below her collarbone, shaped like a crescent moon wrapped in delicate branching lines. Damien's breath caught. He had seen that exact symbol drawn in his grandmother's oldest journal, a symbol belonging to the lunar seers, a bloodline believed extinct for over a century. "Elena," he said carefully, "where did you get that mark?" Startled, she covered her collarbone with her hand. "I was born with it. It never meant anything. It certainly never gave me any power." "It might mean everything," Damien said. "I need you to trust me, even though I know that is difficult after everything you have survived. I do not believe your wolf rejected you. I believe something far older sealed it away." Before Elena could respond, shouts erupted outside the tent. Damien's warriors had cornered someone near the camp's northern fence, someone who had been caught trying to slip away during the search. Damien and Elena rushed outside to find the camp in chaos, torches waving, voices raised in alarm. The man his warriors had captured was not a stranger to Elena. It was Garrett, a former beta from her old pack, a man who had once stood beside her father in every important decision. Elena had not seen him since the night of her exile. "You," Elena breathed, stepping forward despite Damien's protective hand reaching for her arm. Garrett's eyes flicked to her with cold recognition, and something like fear flashed across his face before he masked it with a sneer. "Still alive, I see. Pity." "You knew," Elena said, her voice shaking with a mixture of shock and rising anger. "You knew about my bloodline. You told my father I was broken." "I told him exactly what needed to be said," Garrett spat. "Your bloodline was dangerous, a seer capable of exposing every lie the pack elders and I had built over the years. I could not let you awaken and destroy everything I worked for." The camp fell silent as the truth spilled out. Garrett admitted, in his desperation to escape capture, that he had poisoned the pack's protective wards for years, secretly weakening its defenses while selling information to rival territories for wealth and power. It had been a calculated move to bury a threat before it could awaken and expose him. Elena felt the ground shift beneath her, 3 years of pain and confusion suddenly making terrible sense. She had not been rejected for being hollow. She had been silenced for being powerful. Garrett, realizing his confession had sealed his fate, lunged forward in a desperate attempt to flee, shoving past a young warrior guarding the fence. In his panic, he grabbed a burning torch from a nearby post and swung it wildly toward Damien, who had stepped protectively in front of Elena. Something inside Elena snapped free. The warmth that had lived quietly in her chest since childhood exploded outward, and for the first time in 3 years, she felt her wolf stir, not hollow, not broken, but vast and ancient and finally, fully awake. Silver light rippled across her skin, tracing the crescent moon marking until it glowed like true moonlight. With a strength she never knew she carried, Elena moved between Damien and the torch, her raised hand catching Garrett's wrist mid-swing with surprising ease, the fire hissing harmlessly against the damp night air. Gasps rippled through the gathered crowd. Even Damien's warriors stepped back in awe. With her power finally unlocked, Elena's mind opened to threads of knowledge she had never possessed before, memories and truths carried down through generations of seers before her. She spoke calmly, but her voice carried absolute certainty as she named every lie Garrett had told, every secret deal he had made, every innocent life put at risk because of his greed. Garrett, defeated and exposed before witnesses from 2 packs, had no more lies left to hide behind. Damien's warriors restrained him immediately, and Damien himself ensured Garrett would answer fully for his crimes, both to the rogue camp and to Elena's original pack, where the truth would finally set things right. As the chaos settled and the fire crackled peacefully once more, Damien turned to Elena, his eyes filled with quiet wonder and deep respect. "You are not broken," he said softly. "You never were." Elena, her wolf finally settled and whole inside her, for the first time in years, allowed herself to truly believe those words. "I was so afraid," she admitted, "afraid that if you saw the truth about my past, you would reject me too." Damien reached for her hand gently, giving her every chance to pull away if she wished. She did not. "I already know the truth about you," he said. "You are the last known lunar seer, the mate my wolf has waited a lifetime to find, and the bravest woman I have ever met. None of that is something to reject. It is something to protect and cherish." In the days that followed, word spread quickly through both packs about what had happened at the rogue camp. Elena's former pack, shaken by the truth of Garrett's betrayal, sent formal apologies and requested her forgiveness, which she offered carefully, though she chose not to return to live among them. Her home, she realized, was no longer defined by a title or a bloodline alone, but by the people who saw her true worth. Damien brought Elena back to his own territory, not as a rescued victim, but as an equal, a woman whose wisdom and strength would help guide his pack for years to come. Their bond deepened naturally, built on honesty, patience, and mutual respect, rather than rushed declarations. Elena used her awakened abilities to strengthen the protective wards Garrett had weakened, ensuring both packs would remain safe from future threats. Months later, beneath a clear night sky filled with soft moonlight, Damien formally claimed Elena before his entire pack, and the woman once discarded as broken was welcomed as their Luna. She stood tall, no longer hiding, no longer afraid, her silver marking glowing faintly beneath the moon, as if the sky itself recognized what her own family once refused to see. Elena Voss, the rejected Omega from a nameless rogue camp, became known, throughout the northern territories, not for what she had lost, but for everything she had overcome. Her secret had not destroyed her, as her enemies had hoped. It had saved her mate, and ultimately changed the future of an entire pack for the better. And for the first time in her life, Elena finally understood that being different had never been her weakness at all. It had always been her greatest strength, simply waiting for the right moment to shine. She often thought back to that rainy night by the fire, to the fear that had made her run from the one person meant to stand beside her. She was grateful, in the quiet hours before dawn, that Damien had refused to let her disappear. He had seen past her fear to the truth underneath it, and in doing so, he had given her back the parts of herself she thought were lost forever. Mira and Tobias were welcomed into Damien's territory soon after, unwilling to be separated from the woman who had once cared for them so gently. Watching Tobias grow up safe and fed, laughing freely without fear of the next storm or the next hungry season, brought Elena a joy she had never dared imagine for herself during her years at the rogue camp. Elena also made peace, in her own time, with the memory of her father. She did not forgive him easily, and she did not pretend the pain of that night had simply vanished, but she chose, deliberately, not to let his cruelty define the rest of her story. Instead, she built something new, something built on trust rather than fear, on partnership rather than command. As seasons passed, Elena's role within the pack grew beyond healer and Luna. She became a teacher as well, gently guiding other lost and rejected wolves who arrived at their borders seeking shelter, showing them that a single moment of cruelty did not have to determine the whole of their future. Word of her kindness spread far beyond Damien's territory, and slowly, quietly, the northern lands began to change, pack by pack, story by story. On quiet evenings, Damien would often find Elena sitting beneath the same kind of moonlight that had first revealed her hidden mark, her eyes calm, her wolf finally at peace. He would sit beside her without a word, simply grateful for the mate bond that had led him to her, and for the courage she had found within herself long before he ever arrived. Elena Voss, once cast aside as broken, had become something far greater than anyone, including herself, had ever believed possible. She had become whole,